Okay. See, here is, I started the same. Start with our folder, lecture 2, and I pulled our previous sample. We start our previous sample first, okay? We build on top of the previous work. Okay, I double click. No, double click. So here's the web page. And it's very, very simple. The key is to include this w3.css. When we include this file, that means we have all the style definition already included in this file. And when we use it, all their tag you use it looks like this. You type class equal to w3 dash. So whenever you see w3, you know you use this library. So what we had is, because I download this w3 in the same folder as I have in this file, and I don't have to use the internet one. You see here, w3 is right here, and I open it. And it's just a whole bunch of code, but you know it's there. And if you really want to search exactly where it is, you definitely can. You see w3, and you go here, control find, control. If you're really, really curious on what it is, you see here, w3 till, and here is the comma. Comma means another one, w3 hover till, and hover. And so the comma is several of the tag going to have the same definition, same value. And where it is, I lost it. And here's the color is, means the front color is FFF, it's white. Background color is this. So in our class, you don't have to understand all this, but if you're just curious and want to know exactly what they're doing, that's the place you look. Okay, so I close it. You don't need to know the detail. And here's our page. And this is the last time we include a font. And the things we're concentrating other things. You see w3 library, you can include locally. But this font, we still go to Google app. Here's the reason, two of the reasons. Number one, the Google is so popular, so important. The chance their Google website is down is extremely small. And also, just in case their Google is broken, the worst case is just we don't have the font. We just have a regular computer font. So the page still display properly. But if w3, in any case, their website is down, and our page will look totally, totally different. I put this back in. Here is, so this website, our page will look so different. So it's a good practice to download this w3.css. Another good practice is if you think something is very important and you don't want to use it, but you want to save there. And this our comment that's you see here, what we learned before is a comment. So we comment out this. That means this code, you see, it's green. That means we're not going to use it. But just for reference, I want to be here. So it's reminding me my W3 is come from here. And that's the same thing. Here's a Google font. I comment out because I think at some point I will use Google font. But for today's lecture, today's class, we're not going to use it. Okay, so now I save it and I have the web page. Now I'm going on. All right, so here's the web page. Looks very too full. You see, the text all the way hits the edge, and there's no room. Not looks pretty at all. So today I'm going to introduce a couple of tags to space all this information properly. So the first one I'm going to add to it is, it's called the W3 container. Okay, I put on the chat. What this do is, this container will add 16 pixel. Computer, we always use a pixel on the left side and the right side. I want to do is I add the, you see it's too close to the edge. So I'm going to add this container for the entire web page. So what I do is I put a div at the beginning and put a div at the end. So I block this whole thing, and so that means you see div is set that block this whole paragraph. So everything here is, any definition is in this block going to be affected. So I put a class W3 container. I save it. And let's see what's going to happen. You see here, we get the space here. And we get a space this side. So this page looks a little better. And you see here, everything is controlled, has the space. If in case, you see, we only block to here, we leave the last one outside the block. Let's see what happens. You see, here is the anything inside the block have pixel on the left and the pixel on the right. And here, the last one is outside the block, which is beginning and end. It's no room on left and right. So this is the first tag. And we can use this W3 container in the div tag and the p tag. For example, here, this page looks good and my car is touch the edge. And if I do it at the p tag, the H1 tag, I think the p tag works too. Okay, here's. This is a paragraph. Okay. this one. And look, you see here, it's move inside. And then if I put a P here, this H1. So here is called class equal to something. But if you have like a style to style this several ways, you have a color and the days, because they all has a class. What you do is just put in this bracket, has a space in between. And you can add all kind of a style into it. So far, that's what we add. Look here, we put it in the H tag. You see here, my car move here. So far, so the container can use to anything, any tag is like cross over the whole screen. If in case, for example, here's my header 2, for example, I add another header called the header 3. For example, if I want to make this header 3 is really strong, SPAN, span tag, not strong. Okay, not to make it strong, I make it, for example, red color. And see what happens. Here's, I add another one header. You see here, a header 3 red. Red means background. If I want a text color, I will see W3 text. What can be good on red, blue, or green? So you just like tie them together. It's so hard to read. Yellow. All right, so visible. If for whatever reason I said, here's a container, I have a space here. You see this one is too close. I put a container here. I want to do it. So class, this is the header. I have red background, yellow text, and I put a container here. So you can keep add to it. You see, something is just totally wrong. So that means a certain tag only work with certain thing. It's, you see here, it's still at 16 pixel, but just mess up things. So certain thing may not work. And if you do your web page, you try it, see not work, it's just not work. It's not something wrong with you, it's just something not work that way. So far, to summarize this, generally this W3 container works on the text, on the tags which control all the way from beginning to end. In this kind of tag, it works. If in the middle, it's not. Okay, so so far on the container. Okay, here is start the question. So to write this code, I just write them in Notepad++. Yes, the Notepad++ is the code which or you can, but this is not a program. It's HTML, is called code, but not called program. You like Java, JavaScript, that's called program. And then here is the same file which display on the browser. And still remember, you right mouse click on the browser. You have two ways to see your code. One is view page code, which will be same as what your code, but you cannot make change in here and expect it's going to change in your website. This just display only. Another one is going to be your best friend is inspect. So the Chrome, Firefox, and right now is Microsoft Edge, all have this function called inspect, which I use a lot more. The reason is if something wrong here, I can use this, you see the arrow, and I click here, it will match the code here. If something wrong, I can examine my code. Oh, why this is this way? And so it's called the debug. Someone call this called the debug, but it's inspect. And at the same time, what this WRED, 3-red text mean, and also here show you exactly what this the styling code for this particular tag. For example, here W3 text yellow, and here's more. Basically, this just gave a quick snapshot on. You see here's color is this kind of yellow. If I and of course I can temporarily change it. If I unclick it, that means disable it, become default. Anyway, so this is another your good friend to look your code. You see, you swap the code, it's swap on top. Just remember here is you call debug. That's for the programming. It's debug is a programming language debug, or it's inspect, or someone call it spy. It's really spy your code. Okay, I disable it. So now is last time we introduced the color. So far we apply the text, the color to text, foreground and the background. And today I'm going to add a color to more things. For example, I want to have a border on this text. So another tag is called, oh yes, okay. You see, this looks so not that good. We use our old center, so at least to make something looks a little better. So here is my car, the title. I put a container, and here's much simpler than before. We just call center. So center it. So WS center. You see here, centered. And we put on the second. And the third. So make it reasonably good. But normally for pictures, especially when you want to make this web page view on computer and the phone looks the same, we use a percentage. And you know, the picture 100% means looks too full. So I use 80%. You see, here's the problem again. So it's aligned on the left. So in this case, I put the center 2. I think I have it. Image. Okay, you know, here is, I start to get tired of, you see the everything, you see this center not to work, image. I put it not to work. And you see it's not, so I get tired on all of this. I have to center one by one. And I said, how about I put another div tag, make all centered. So if I just want to 1, 2, 3, 4 up to the image, all center. So I block this. So I make a div for this part. You see, I only get to, I go too far. I only get to the image. You see, that's why you want to use Notepad++. It's indicate where's the beginning, where's the end. And then I get tired on this. I get to the image. I want all of this be centered. So I just make a changing first and see what happens. So we make a gradual change. All right, so my div only up to after the image. So the question is why this not work? So now I gradually, you see here, I center this to make the code is visible. Okay, here's container. Let's see. Center is here. Container here. Okay. The reason is why not work on image is just too close this center. If we put, so certain tag is just happen to not work on it. So if you just want to center the image, you may have to put a div before and after put center it. Since we do this, the big one center all of them. So now since we center all of them, this one just duplicate, and then it's not going to hurt anything, just make the code looks a little bit too messy and too ugly. Is not going to get used. It's very good practice for people to clean the code. If something you're not going to get used, there's two good practice. One is clean the code. Here's the center. I remove all this center, which is the center, and save it. You see the whole paragraph center. So to have it, number one, clean the code, just like your home. If a little bit messy here, you clean it right away. And it's easy. If you don't clean up, you're going to have a mess over, and at the point, it's very unmanageable. So that's one. Here's a container. Another good practice is write a comment. You see here, if you want to comment out something or you need to explain something, and put a comment. So for HTML, this is the comment tag, beginning and end. For styling, That's the beginning. That's the end. So this won't show the color, but we see we don't have this font anymore. You see here, just regular default color. Another thing is because this Notepad++ is so good to give you color. Another thing is you see here, to make visually, it's easy to read. So you put indent this code. See here, and maybe I include this more. So it's this inside and this. You see here, you can see the block here and the block here. And here is Notepad++ even give you a line. So it's much easier to read. So you know this div and this paragraph at the same level. So we center the whole thing first and we put a container. And we can do reverse, for example, everything container first and the center second. So depend on your purpose. Okay, I stop second. Not clear on this question. Okay, wait, confused because you don't write code on the notepad then. Not very clear on your question. Here I write code on Notepad++. Look my folder. Here is my folder. This is the file I'm working on. So I do open with Notepad++ and double click. So both of them, you see here, lecture 2, that's the EX2. And here's EX2 on lecture 2. So they both are the same file. But Notepad++ give you a chance to see the code and you make a change into the file. So every time I make a change, I save it. So you can do file save. So file save, you can use the shortcut. No, save, yes, Control S. Okay.
There's an easier way.
Okay.
So basically you just press the thing that looks like a noteboard or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's just below the file. Oh, edit
Yes,
search.
here, this one, you save. Great, that's right. Normally I use Control S. I just, I type it and my keyboard, I just save right away. All right. Now we talk about the coding style, try to avoid mistake. Now I keep going on about the color. You see, last time we have a text color, background color. Now I like to add another thing is called a border. You see here's this is header 3. You see header 3. I don't like this. I just add a border. Okay. You see, I don't have a color anymore. You see here, I don't add any color. I just see here spam border. Okay, so it's have a very light gray color border around it. And if I put this border, you see I put a span tag. If I put this in my, let's see, here, this is paragraph. I put this one. See what happens. You see here, if under the P tag, it's going to border the entire row, you see, from beginning to end. If I put a span tag, because span is inline tag, is only border this much. So for the same styling tag, it's do slightly different. So that's why you need to really understand the underline tag. What's the span tag really mean? And what's the P tag really mean? So you have the concept where I'm going to border it. I assume in your tag, in your web page, you want to put a border. And another thing even better is if I border it, here's, we talk about the color, right? I keep work on this header 3. So number 1, I border it. Number 2, I make a border color blue. Okay, so now it's border color blue. And the third one, I want to do it. I said, you know, this third text, what I want is I only want the border on underneath. So keep tag it. Not use this yet. Border bottom. Okay. Okay, so one last is border bottom. Let's see. All right, here is, I know the reason. I take this out for now. When you see border, it's going to cover the entire border. If you see border bottom, so give the definition right away. Okay, so here's border bottom. And here's the border. You see here's the header. And the things is, I really want to make this whole thing has a bottom line. And then I'm thinking, you see here's, if I do this, you see this is such a good code. I want to keep it, but I wasn't sure. All right, here is, if I have the whole thing, I wanted this whole text has a border, not just a part of it. And then I copy this. I'm not going to copy this. I'm going to copy this to here. So I save the code. So because this header 2, we haven't do anything. So have the same code for the entire header 2. You see, the problem is, you see the header 2, I put in under the P tag, is all the way from beginning to the end. It's not what I want. I just want to border this part. So what I do here, I put H tag, and inside H tag, I put span. You see, here is nice. It's not, because it's not P tag is across the whole thing, but the span is only in a certain section. So it's nice. And now I'm going to do it's the border bottom, and happen to be this too skinny, and the W3 has a thick border. It's called the W3 bottom bar. Okay, so it's look much better. Okay, I stop here for a few seconds if I have any question, and I look your question on the chat. Okay, here, how to bold the line. Now it's the bold. Okay, here's the question. First question is, someone said is why you write code in Notepad++, and here is the web page. Is this linked? This is the same file. I write here, I make a change, and then here is, I refresh it. It's reload the file I just updated. Okay. And here's the question. Here is, I need to do this border bar and this first, this second. In fact, the order here is not that important. You know, sometimes order is important, sometimes it's not. You see, not going to make any difference. And you just keep piling on it on top of each other, as long as you have a space in between. So that's why another good practice, if you write a website, if you write a file name, like here, I don't like have a space in between. Because if it's variable, normally you see is no space. But when here you have a space in between, it means two different things. It's like I have a teal color, and this section has a container. And here is another time to clean the code. Because my car, all this is already centered. And for example, the container is not going to make any difference. You see, have a pixel on left and the right. So I remove it. You see, it's not going to make any difference. You have a pixel and let's see, container. Another good thing about Notepad++, you see here, if I double click it, I select this, another similar a string is going to show in other place. You see here, this one and block the whole thing as a container. So it's just to move the whole thing has a space left to right and the left to right. And but it's only blocked to the image. Beyond this, you see this P has container and it's already centered. I don't need this container anymore. And here is totally outside. This is parallel to this code. You see here, center control to there, but not control this one. This don't have a container. And this don't have a container. I just leave that way. So you will see certain things, what they do and what they don't do. You see, not have a container all the way to beginning to the end. Okay, the question is, how can you make a box around the word and bold the box? Okay, bold the box. We happen to have this tag 3, so we leave here. The not tag 3, headers 3. So each one headers 3. And I'm not going to have a bottom. I just see here the whole. I guess this going to call the W3 bar, if I may not. If I'm correct or not correct. Uh-oh, wrong. So bar not work. Okay, how can we have a thick box? Okay, since I don't remember how to get a thick box, I will go to the master website. W3CSS, that you can search. You see, you look here, W3 schools, W3 CSS. You know, is everyone try to do W3 CSS? It's right now. It's like there's some other party beside this place. They call it like something like W3 some CSS, because this W3 CSS is so popular, almost like a word Google, and people almost use it as noun instead of a verb. Just Google it means search it. And so you have to be careful when you search W3 CSS. If you get other website, it's not come from W3 school, so it may not be the same. Here is how do we know the border? So here's border. Border. See the color, the thickness. Okay, I have a thick ball. So here's you do W3 border is all around. You can do top, right, bottom, left, 0. You remove all borders. It's not making any sense to use this. You better just don't use this tag. But in some special circumstance, you may use it. Here's you just see border and add a color to it. And here's another thing, border and the hover border color. What this do, I just show you. Let's see our page. And let me say, okay, use this 3, the header 3 tag. hover red. You see here, it's blue. See here, the mouse hover over, that's red. Okay, keep look the stick border. Okay, so here is the thick one. Add a thick bottom border to element. Add a stick to left, the stick to right, stick to top. So there's no word is, I just want a thick bar. So what I'm going to do, if you really want the thick, you add all this four together. All right, so we do the header 3. I'm going to do here. Top. Bottom. Let's see how to. No. Here's W3 bottom bar. Yeah, it's not that. Okay. There's nothing about top. There's top bar. All right, so top and the color leave there, hover leave there, and left. Right. Okay, we make it. Okay, now we have it. It's a harder way to do it, but we get it. Normally when you have a stick, I assume that's what you want. And if I want to have over from red to the top one, I'm not going to have over. This one I do. Okay, border bar. There's no border bar. That's what I try to use. Yes, that is correct one. I don't want to do too much. That's correct. If you really want to control exactly the thickness of the border, you can give a pixel to it. Let's see, here's the border get a fancier. Here's, they even add a style code to it. We try this and see if the pixel works, the border 10 works not. Okay. Because that definition don't have it, and I apply this to a new one, which we don't. You see here, this is paragraph. I put here. This is paragraph border. Let's see it works or not. That's a good imagination. No, it's the wrong one. You see here, the whole tag is not recognized because in their library, they don't have this tag. And that's get a little bit more complicated. You see here, you have a border, and you just give a definition for border, and you have to use a raw code to give a size. Let's try it. Style border 20 pixel, make it huge. Don't recognize it. Border style. I copied the whole thing just to make sure it'll work first. And the white not going to work because they cannot see it. Still not work. Something not right. Let's see. Style class. Okay, I'm not going to dig that too deep because that's the intention is introduce the top part. Okay. But that's the way it's, if you want to control exactly the thickness of the border, you have to add your own code because their library is just that much, only can handle that much. The library, that's why you need to know the code, need to know number one, HTML, know the tags. Second, you learn their definition from their website and they use the way they defined. If in case they just don't have the thing you need, that time you have to use your hard hand-coded style code to add to it. Hope we don't need to do it. How do you make your box inside have a color? Okay, that's easy one. Header 3, okay, if inside color, okay, we'll work on this. See here is, we have a box, just box this much, and we have a color, okay, H3. We have a days, we have a bottom, the whole border, it's too complicated. We just put the top, it's just too much, it's kind of, how about, we just have the left one. Keep the left and right. Looks awful, but make it simpler. All right, here's, so we have an example on the bottom and the left and right. Now how we color it. Since we know the color is just, oh, flash. And the color just the W3. Make distinguishable. It's not mean it's a good color. I want to use a blue. That's the background color. So you're here right away. Make the color. So that means we have a couple of tools, which all these W3 tags, and we just keep adding pi to it, and then to get the page to the point we like to be. But still, here is, I feel like too crowded. I want to space them. Another good one, not just one, there's two. Look my notes. So we have this, okay, how can we make your mouse hover over the border and the inside the color to make it changing color too? That's, wow, you get too complicated, too fancy. I think it's text color, hover text color. And look this section, text, and it may tell you. I think I want to go forward with our padding, and I'm not going to do margin. It's confuse you even more. So the container, add this the container, add 16 pixel on the left and the right. Now I want to introduce this called the padding, going to add a pixel on top and the bottom. Padding. See here, the text looks much better. You see, have a room on top and the bottom, not like ours. This we do have a room on top and the bottom because we use H tag. But if just a P tag, you see here, it's just looks, and this, you see, so crowded. So we use this padding. So the padding, you see, here's the definition. Padding 16, add 16 pixel on top and the bottom to an element. So here's, if I add this 24, for example, here's, I want my, because I use H tag, I already have a space. If I want this, this is a paragraph. You see this box, this is just too crowded. And here's the paragraph P. I add the padding. You see the padding definition is add to top and the bottom. Look this paragraph. That's good. We have a border around it so we can see it very clearly. You see, here looks nicer. And we have a space. And now I said, you know, this picture is image just too close to each other. And I want my image. Here's, I try to add here first. You see image, we don't have a class yet. We add some class, it's not work. Let's see if it works or not. You see, that's why you want to have this right here and refresh it. Okay, works. So if you write too many code and then you refresh page to get your change, and you may forget which part going to change and something if not work, just you won't know which one not work. So you do a gradual change, add one change and then look at, add one change, look at. So, all right. Let's see, anything else I try to see. So we add. Okay, so far there's two tag. It's a little bit, it's similar, but not exactly the same. It's the div tag and the p tag. The div and the p, they all cross the horizontal from beginning to end. They basically, so what's the difference between these two? I do this. You see, this is paragraph. This is paragraph. I remove the padding. Just to show you the difference between P and the div. Maybe we cannot even see the difference, but want you know it's this paragraph too. All right, it's very, very hard to tell the difference. It's really they all very similar. Okay, but because I already applied the W3 CSS styling to the page, it's may not able to tell the difference too much, but just to remember the div itself not introduce anything to the paragraph, the div to the anything, it's just group this code together. It itself mean nothing. And what this can do is see is after what's behind it. But the P tag is a paragraph. Most of the time it's already gave you the space between up and yeah, it's up and down next to each other. So that's normally is the thing. I just put the difference. Yes, go ahead.
So basically, it's not about this thing, but it's about the code, like about the thing that it shows on the like web 21m/lecture something 2 ex2 htm. Is that like basically, do you choose it, or does Google random just put the things you put and then does it?
It's not a Google, it's a browser. It's this one. I use the Internet Explorer. It can read my code and translate the tag into some kind of control code.
Oh.
Okay, so this thing called a Chrome, Internet Explorer, in Microsoft Edge, Firefox, it's called a browser. It's kind of filter out this tag and read it, understand it, and put the text. You see here, center, put at the center, and put a background color. If you in the text editor, that's the raw code. It's just put there and not do any translation. Almost, yeah. Okay. How do you do a box around the picture? Yes, let's try it. And before we use what we used before? Yes, use a border. Let's see. I think in last class, regular CSS has a border. And I think we have, our student did really good, put the image on it. But right now we do W3 CSS. Why don't you give a try? Okay, I put a border bar on left. And I need to give a color. Let's see, without color should be gray. Yes, you see here, if I don't give a color, and look, this is higher because my border is really framed the whole section, and my image has a padding on top. So this just this 24 pixel, this another 24 pixel. So my website, you see the website, I put a left border and put a background here, gray, so it's stand out a little more. So do I answer your question? What this thing code and the browser thing? I think your question, I'm not quite to get your question. Okay, good. That's just my guess. You see how this. And also I repeat again, if you do view source and you make a change in here, you think it's going to show on your page, that's not going to work. Browser is just a reader. and read your code and spit out and display it. That's it's doing. Okay, so that's is all the thing I need to talk in today's class. So any question? You know, before we write the page, we use a P tag or BR, the break line tag, to break the space. Now we use this padding, especially the padding, to give you exactly how many pixels in between. So you controlled this whole thing is controlled. You see, I have this and the in between, and you see that's the paragraph. It's just by default give me this much room. Okay. Awesome, silent. So, and also the W3, the padding, you cannot go any number. For example, I want a 15. All others, you don't, you're out of luck. They don't give you. And in that case, you really, really want to do something different, and go here and look their code and may give you a clue, and you do your own custom styling. W3, okay. See, you're not totally, okay, so what is did? Here's the code. Padding, so padding top, 24, padding bottom, 24. So padding, so this is the standard CSS styling. So this the true, the bottom is the real code of it. For example, I really want to be fancy. Here is on the bottom of the car, I want to add a space to it. So what I'm going to do is a style 80% and the padding bottom. I just want 25. You see, I already have a padding 24 and I have another 26, for example. The bottom should add more. Hope it works. Okay. Not work. If I take this out, you see here, it's a two thing is, you see you have the two code pi each other, because this borderline tell you where it is. So it's a pi each other, like a duplicate. It may not work. So I just see bottom. Here is if I really want to do my own, and semicolon, and I do top. $30. See here, top 30. And anyway, if you use this, I recommend you use their definition, not to try to be too smart yourself. So you just make your code kind of hard to read. People say, oh, what is class? What is this? And you only use customer definition style in a very special situation. You don't have You have to use it. So use a minimum. And also, and when you do this, you may create your own, you see here, W3 CSS, and you create your own CSS. Another one is linked underneath. And so you control you only use that few things and not too messy on your code. Okay. That's correct. Padding do the top and the bottom, and the container do left and right. And that's why I don't want to totally mess you up. The margin, you can do, it's kind of a little bit duplicated. Margin can do more. Margin, you can control top, bottom, left, right. Because container is fixed, 30. Here is, you see, margin, add 16 pixel margin to all side. And you can do top, right, left, bottom. Let's see. The margin. So that's why I don't want to mess you up. You see, we have a padding top and the bottom. Margin you can do all around, but a container is left or right. But remember, container is used for the entire page, like a div, it's a big block. And the margin is good. For example, you can use this span tag. For example, you want this header, you have left side and the top. This you can use top, bottom, use the padding, and the left, right, use the margin. And in that case, you just margin it. You see here, I use margin, so you can control. Let's see. Span tag. See if it works. If not, that will be my homework. Yes, you see here, left and right, it's add a margin. And the top, bottom, we cannot tell that much. So only you can tell where it is that you use. See here, the margin. And let's see, why not do top, bottom? I have to check. Anyway, why I want to do certain thing? A lot of time I have to look here, try this one work, that one work, a lot of try and error. Okay, so that's why I don't want to mess you up, but you know it's this padding and the margin is your best friend to space them, and the container. And the most web page you don't want. You see here, they always, you see here, they always have a 16 pixel. They all use a container. You see all the text. Every section they use a container first, so not make the text all the way pushed to the edge. So container is used almost everywhere, and most time, and in between here, you use margin and the padding, and that's what I use a lot. And sometimes you see it's nothing like it's wrong to use the padding for top, bottom, and the margin top, bottom. Nothing wrong about it, but just in case someone, this one works, this one not, and vice versa. Correct. Padding is just top and the bottom, margin all around. Confusing, right? Okay, I'm going to stop recording. Stop share second. Stop recording.